On the green. This for par. Should be mostly straight. You've nearly got it.
Son of a bitch, Ball, why didn't you just go home? That's your home! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
Suck my white ass, Ball!
Hey guys, what is going on? Chris here with Shughead Gaming, bringing you my review for Everyone's Golf, developed by Japan Studio and Clap Hands, and releasing exclusively on PlayStation VR on May 21st, 2019 for an estimated retail price of $30. Of course, that depends on your region. As usual, this was reviewed on the PS4 Pro. The famous Everyone's Golf series comes to PSVR. Swing like in real life as you practice at a full-size driving range, complete with putting and approach practice. Then off you go to 3 full, beautiful courses to master your game. A VR golf game has been a huge gap in our VR library, so who better to give it to us than Sony themselves? Does this trusted franchise sink a hole in one, or is it still swinging in the rough? Let's find out. As always, guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button, and if you'd like to see more PSVR content from me, please consider subscribing. Let's kick things off with a look at graphics. To be honest, I actually never thought we would see a golf game on this generation of PSVR. A golf game would require realistic graphics to portray the feeling of actually being on a course, and we all know that draw distance and clarity is something that doesn't come easy to VR, and especially on the more limited hardware of the PS4. So how does it play out? Pretty damn good, actually. Previously titled Hot Shots Golf, if you have played any of the games in this 20-year-old series, then you know that the visual style has always leaned more towards the cartoon side of things. Admittedly, it had been a long time since I'd played an entry in the series, and I was actually pretty impressed at how real-world the game felt when taking it in through a VR headset. Textures certainly do feel slightly animated, to be sure, but the lighting, color palette, skyline, and the overall feel of the courses still brings with it a sense of realism and scale that feels very genuine and impressive. First and foremost, the draw distance is actually incredible, and about as good as you could ever hope for in this generation of VR, and I'm including PC in that as well. Now keep in mind, I am on a Pro and this game is Pro enhanced, but regardless, I was actually pretty shocked at how clear and detailed the courses looked when looking far off in the distance when tracking my shot or just taking in the sights. Now yes, some concessions can be seen to make this happen in VR, most noticeably of which is the halo effect in which image detail is reduced outside of your center focus. This is actually present in many of the more graphically demanding games on the PSVR, but it is a little more obvious than I would have liked here. That said, trust me when I say it is much less intrusive than what you see in the flat video capture seen here or in streams, for when in the headset and focusing on the game at hand, it simply became less of an issue. Now, when comparing the graphics to what was in the flat version of the game, other aspects have also been scaled back in order for the VR port to happen. Gone is the open world nature of being able to freely move around courses, in addition to courses feeling a little less lifeless, as you seem to be the only golfer around. Also absent is time of day and weather changes, along with a reduction in lighting and particle effects. All of this would have been a nice addition, but for me, I really want to just golf in ideal weather during the prime time of day anyway, and I don't want to be bothered by other golfers either, so for me, not an issue. Concessions aside, the courses still feel like real places and had me often in awe of what Sony managed to bring to the PSVR. The overall scale of the courses is absolutely incomparable when seen in VR, and looking at a club in your hands that actually feels like a club in your hands is absolutely worth most of the visual slights. Add to this more realistic character models than the flat version, big realistic skies, dust, wind effects, along with some tasteful lighting effects sprinkled in here and there, and Everyone's Golf feels a lot more polished than a golf game on PSVR really has any right to. Sound is up next.
Maybe. It's in the rough. Looks delicious. So good. On the green.
Well, it is an everyone's golf game, so that means cheesy arcade music and irritating dialogue. So, unfortunately, unlike the visuals, everything here from the core game has made it into the VR title. If you enjoy the charm and cheese of the previous entries in this series, then you will be happy as a pig in shit. But for the rest of us, thankfully, most of the cheese is left out of the golfing itself. As for the sound effects, easily the most important aspect in a game all about immersion, things actually fare pretty well. Now, we aren't talking EA's PGA quality of realism here, but what is here works, and it works really well. Swings and impacts are satisfying due to that brilliant ping sound of a well-executed stroke, and similarly with the slight taps of a perfect putt and the sound of a ball sinking into the cup that instantly makes you want to fist pump in the air. Whether teeing off, chipping out of the rough, or making sandcastles in a bunker, everything here sounds mostly like it should. Outside of this, more ambient sounds really round out the package, complete with realistic wind sounds, birds chirping, and sprinklers off in the distance. But maybe the most important aspect of the sound mix is the aspect of space that the 3D sound mix really brings to this VR experience. When on the green, courses feel big and wide open. It feels like you are actually outside and golfing rather than simply watching a character on a screen. And for that reason alone, I would call the sound mix here an absolute success. And that brings us to gameplay. A VR golf game with a move controller just makes sense. Say what you will about the spotty tracking and lack of analog sticks, but contrary to popular belief, the moves are one-to-one tracking, and with proper camera placement, no other VR controller feels and works better as a golf club than the Sony moves. So let's get the details out of the way. Everyone's Golf is definitely a stripped-down version of the flat version. Here we get 3 full courses, each with 18 holes, and mirrored versions of each course. In addition to this, we get the multi-tiered driving range you saw in the demo, complete with a putting green and an area to practice your chip shots. Gone is all the open world aspects of the flat version along with all the side games. For me, this is actually a good thing as I honestly just want to golf and I really don't feel the need to partake in arcade filler. Unfortunately, what got axed along with this was multiplayer and even the ability to play a fictional season against AI. Yes, there are leaderboards, but Everyone's Golf is unfortunately an extremely solo experience and a huge omission that honestly there really is no reason for. Multiplayer on PSVR is understandably very hard when throwing in multiple gamers on screen with hardware that is already maxed out. But golf? You already go one at a time, so its omission isn't just unfortunate, it's ridiculous. The lack of AI competitors is just a mystery to me, but not being able to relax on the course with a few friends is extremely disappointing to say the least, and a huge blow against an otherwise fantastic effort. What we are left with is an oddly cryptic single-player progression that locks out almost all the available content until you play multiple rounds of 3 holes each, randomly chosen from the first course. This unlocks the front and back 9 of said course, along with a few additional setting options, and then you get the idea. This artificial padding of the game by locking out key aspects is irritating and unnecessary, but forgivable because the game plays so good. So let's get on with the good, shall we? The most important question on most gamers' minds is how does it play and does it feel realistic? The answer to that is yes, it plays fantastic, and while this isn't a full sim golf experience, it definitely leans more on the sim side of things than the arcade. I'll give you an example. In my real golf game, I have an irritating tendency to slice when using my drivers, but play much more consistently when using my irons. Fortunately or unfortunately, I have that exact same issue when playing here in VR. In many cases, the game can be very unforgiving in the best possible way and come off incredibly true to life. That being said, there are unavoidable issues when swinging a club without any real weight, so the game has to make some decisions around speed versus form when taking your swing into account, allowing for some Happy Gilmore moments that just wouldn't happen if you were to try it, say, on the real course. This odd dichotomy of simulation versus arcade can also be seen in other aspects as well, with the distance of holes and club strength being hand-fed to you, but the next moment making you read the wind by looking at wind gusts or throwing some grass to watch its direction. These inconsistencies are of course minor, but it would have been nice to have more control in what we see, or more importantly for golf fans, what we don't see. So yes, the game lacks options and the ability to customize the experience, and while this does seem to be an irritating trend with VR ports, I really want to stress here how much is gained here in VR. The sheer sense of scale and elevation on display simply ruins me on playing golf on a TV screen ever again. The first time you have to dig your way out of the rough on a steep incline while trying to avoid overhanging trees, or a chip shot over an embankment you literally cannot see over or around, I dare you not to smile in the sheer bliss of VR. Stepping up to the tee and having to think about keeping your head down, foot placement, and even which angle you are approaching the ball all actually matters here. There are no power meters, no spin control, and no power boosts. All you have is your actual swing and the ability to read the green. So to summarize, everyone's golf ends up being much more for golf fans than everyone, as it isn't actually very easy if you don't play golf in real life. Real golfers will find that they have to adapt to some of the game's more forgiving physics, but there is still a fairly deep and robust golf game here that works way more often than it doesn't. Finally, the 3 fictional courses on offer here are all very nicely done, offering a nice combination of distances and difficulties, with every hole coming off unique and realistic. Now, I just want more in hopefully future DLC. Everyone's golf can be controlled using either a DS4 or a Move controller, but since both must be held and swung like a real club, I cannot recommend enough the Move controller. Tracking here was mostly spot on, but a moderate to high amount of room is required. You will be doing full swings in your play area, and for optimal tracking, you will want to be about 6 feet back from your camera as to get a full view of your motions. Special mention to the excellent use of haptic feedback being used to communicate to the player, both when their club is touching on the ground before swinging, and again when making contact with the ball, making for a very satisfying sensation, particularly when accompanied by a clean shot. Finally, keep in mind that this is a physical game and you need to play it standing, so if you want to sit on your ass and golf, this isn't that game. And finally, that brings us to fun factor and my final review. Everyone's Golf turns out to be not so much a golf game for everyone, but more a golf game for people who like to golf in real life. With its real-world learning curve and true-to-life swing physics, this actually could in fact be a game to teach those new to the sport the basics of real golf. The addition of an in-game practice swing system and the driving range only drives home the mentality that this is a game that you actually have to practice to get good at, and a game in which real-world golfers will likely fall right into. The game's complete lack of online functionality and season mode is a huge knock against this game, and unfortunately stings even more because the foundation of the game itself and its visuals are so well executed, and better than I think we all hoped for this generation of VR. I hate number ratings and instead rate games on the basis of buy, wait for a sale, or burn it to the ground. If you like golf, or want to learn golf, this is absolutely a must-buy. This is golf done right in VR, and is actually a shockingly good and deep game of golf. Unfortunately, it's missing some key features and comes with only 3 courses, but its price reflects this, priced at only 50% off the core game when it first released. Missed features aside, I can't get over how well this game works in VR, and how good of a job the Astrobot team did in bringing golf to this generation of PSVR, and again, giving the masses another compelling reason to pick up a PSVR. Now if only I could fix that damn slice. Anyways guys, that's it for me. If you liked this video, please hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more PSVR content from me, please consider subscribing. And for video updates, hit that bell icon. I'll catch you guys on my next video.
Big trouble though, pal. I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast.
You eat pieces of shit for breakfast?
No,